I'm thinking because this is the stuff that's going to get me assassinated.
I do feel like he's been set up. Rob, do you?
You're asking me the tough ones. Yes.
Predicted, didn't he? Or came very close to predicting the Trump assassination attempt in a recent interview with you. I'll show you what he had to say and get you to react off the bat.
Already being insane. And the degree of, well, I'm thinking because this is the stuff that's going to get me assassinated. So there's no way Donald Trump can't win unless something happens. And if something happens, we're going to see not only a breakdown in faith of the systems, but you're also going to see a whole huge degree of cope from the people who you'd think would be up in arms about it. And over the weeks and months post his loss, they're just going to talk big and do nothing. And it's going to be a bunch of cope. And they're going to end up adhering to the matrix and the money. And when they get the phone calls, they're going to get scared and it's all going to fall apart. And I think that Western civilization as a whole will genuinely collapse if Donald Trump.
So when was that interview, Rob?
Oh, it was this year. So it was.
And you traveled. You traveled to Dubai, did you? Is that where it was done?
No, this one was in Romania.
In Romania, okay.
I went to where he lives. Yeah.
And do you feel like he was predicting the Trump assassination attempt there?
Well, he said it without saying it, didn't he? So, I mean, on my first episode with him, which was in Dubai, you know, he says when you become too powerful, there are 3 stages. They cancel you, silence you. That doesn't work. They imprison you. That doesn't work. They assassinate you. And he talked through those 3 stages, and he had just been cancelled. And 4 weeks after my interview with him, he got imprisoned. And yeah, so it looks like he predicted the assassination attempt. But like I said, with these attempts at cancelling or even assassinating people, it just makes them even bigger. So
you think he genuinely fears for his own safety, though? He believes that, I'm speaking about Andrew Tate here, not Donald Trump. Andrew believes that he's a target for assassination now.
This is quite nuanced, Dan, because Andrew seems to not stop speaking out and putting himself at risk. So I know personally that he does fear for being assassinated, but he won't stop speaking out and speaking up. So does he really fear it? Because he keeps speaking out.
And tell me what he's like. You've spent time with him. Is what you see on camera the same thing off camera? Is there a more vulnerable side to him?
So the reason I chose to interview him once, twice, and pursue other interests is because I think he speaks with conviction, and I think he says things that a lot of people are scared to say, and he says it. Because if you speak to nearly anyone, even people who don't like him or feel he's a misogynist, for example, everyone says, but he does say some things that I really agree with, even if he says it in a way I don't agree with. So that was the reason I chose to interview him. What's he like? He's very polite and respectful. I think he thinks that, life is war and meant to be hard for men, and it's meant to be easier for women. And, he's got the more traditional values of a relationship with a man and a woman. I'm not a woman, so I don't have the potential issue with his misogyny. But he's only ever been polite, respectful, and generous with me in my dealings with him. And off camera, he is he has less bravado. He as soon as the camera comes on, he comes to life and the chest comes out. But I would say what he says, his words, his values, I would say they're the same or seem to be the same off camera as on camera. So there it doesn't seem to be a different person on camera to off, just maybe more caricaturized.
Yeah, I've only interviewed him once and met him in person once, but that was my experience too. But I have always found him to be incredibly polite, incredibly respectful, very engaged, and I do feel like he's been set up. Rob, do you?
You're asking me the tough ones. Yes. There's lots of things he said about the Matrix which me sound quite extreme, and I'm not sure it's as organized. However, because he was cancelled by pretty much every bank and pretty much every social media channel just before midnight on New Year's Eve, that to me confirmed, when you take all the other evidence, that was a concerted attack across banks and media, and there were some very powerful forces that combined to shut him down. If it had just been YouTube or just been TikTok, you might have looked at some of the things he said in isolation and say, well, that's against their terms. And, you know, he has said some edgy things, Dan, and maybe some of his posts should have been taken down, or maybe he should have even been shut down from some channels. But all the banks, all the media, 11:55 on New Year's Eve, I mean, that's to me too suspicious.
When they come for you, they come for you. And I've only had a tiny experience of it compared to Andrew Tate, but I definitely think the establishment know how to shut down voices that they disagree with. And Rob, there has been a fascinating battle going on all week between Douglas Murray and the British establishment, who want to get him locked up for actually talking the truth about why there is such discontent in the UK. Alistair Campbell, George Galloway, they want the police to intervene. They think Douglas Murray should be arrested. Now, in reality, all Douglas Murray is doing is saying, I warned you of this. I told you that there was social unrest that was going to come if you kept throwing open the borders and allowing a different type of person, largely an Islamic type of person, into the country in astonishing rates. So to hit back, Douglas Murray has sat down with Jordan Peterson for a feisty interview today, and I want to show you some of it. Rob, you can react off the bat.
The idea that people's response to any problems in their society should be to go out and commit acts of violence is obviously insane and wrong. What we're seeing on the streets of the British cities, though, raises this question, as I say, of if the public keep saying something to the politicians and the politicians keep not just ignoring them, but insulting them, what are they allowed to do, these people? These are populations that have every single election, like the rest of the British people, for 20 years, they have voted for less immigration and been told that they'd get it. And instead, it's just gone up. They have lived through an economy since 2008, where of the jobs created by the British government since 2008, so in the last, we're talking 16 years, of the jobs created since 2008, 74% have gone to people who were not born in Britain. So just people think about this for a second. The government refuses to do what the public keep on asking for and what the government keeps on saying it'll do. It is seen to be, I think accurately, extremely lax on policing certain social cohesion issues. It's extremely eager to crack down on anyone of a Tommy Robinson type. The idea...
And he's right, isn't he, Rob?
Well, I think that anybody who speaks about immigration or wanting to have less non-British people is immediately branded a racist. That's just it. And yeah, so what can you say? You can't say anything because you're branded a racist. You know, I come on your show, we talk about it. Oh, Rob's far right. He's a racist because he just thinks that maybe it should be at least 50-50 English people, or at least, or 70-30 English people. So I don't normally talk about these matters because I'll just be branded a racist like everybody else who talks about what we want, which is just, you know, more control, maybe, you know, people here who can bring value, but you're a racist or you're a Nazi. So I don't know what to say.
Well, what's interesting actually is Jordan Peterson asks Douglas Murray about what folk can do now, given that there has been this crackdown. And as you say, given that now even discussing it, even having this conversation, will see you be branded far right. So watch what he had to say.
What is permissible in this situation to do? And I would say peaceful protesting would be one thing, or speaking up, or, you know, whatever you like to do, except that every time even there is a peaceful protest, the peaceful protesters are defamed as far-right neo-Nazis. I mean, there definitely will have been and have been in recent days some extremely ugly people who've come out of the woodshed, who I'm sure do include, as like one guy everyone's obsessed with who has a swastika tattoo on his back. Is that guy representative of all the people who are angry in the wake of the slaughter in Southport? I would have thought not. And in any other situation, every public official, political official, opinion writer and policeman would be very wary of trying to tar everyone with that brush. I mean, for instance, the police and authorities, even when you have discovery of an imam in a mosque preaching violence, everyone is incredibly careful, lawyers at all the newspapers and everyone else, to make sure that it isn't implied that everyone who attends that mosque is somehow in favor of this. In fact, woe betide you if you did do that. You have to say it's this one person and no one else is responsible.
It's totally true, isn't it? It's totally true.
I think he just said what I just said before. Like, what can you do?
Yeah, far right Nazi.
Yeah. And if you speak out, you're far-right neo-Nazi. If you peacefully protest, you could get arrested under public nuisance. So what can you do? Well, you can't not say anything and you can't not protest, because in the end it gets even more extreme and there's even less than you can say. And then they'll bring in a cashless society, and then they'll bring in a social credit system. And then then they'll obviously, with, you know, AI and surveillance, make sure that you can't go anywhere. If they don't want you to go anywhere, can't cross a border, can't leave your house, they'll take your money off you. Oh, and then they'll tax you 70% and 75% and even more of what you earn and what you spend. And it's Orwellian control from every angle. Your freedom to speak, your freedom to travel, your freedom to spend.
First, though, what's so important about being independent is that I'm only ever going to tell you about products that I use and truly believe in, because I want things that will improve your life. So I'm delighted to talk to you about Verso. As you know, I'm in my 40s now, really focused on staying healthy, prioritizing my health, trying to stay fit, doing the 16/8 fast, you know, all of the things that you're meant to do. But it will only get you so far. Scientists like David Sinclair have proven that we can now reverse aging with interventions that go beyond healthy habits. So I wanted a product I knew would enhance everything I was doing, but one backed up with solid evidence. Introducing Cell Being by Verso. It has scientifically proven ingredients that fight the effects of aging by increasing NAD+ levels, which is the stuff that powers every cell in your body. I've been taking this product now for a long time, right at the start of my day. It's been transformative for me. Fasting is way easier. My fat is down and I'm no longer as hungry. And apparently that is due to the blood sugar regulating effects in the product which lead to fewer cravings. I'm sleeping better too, wake up with more energy and feeling happier. This product has taken years off me. And Verso publishes third-party testing from each batch produced to guarantee you are getting what you paid for. Now, if you head today to buy.ver.so/outspoken, you will save 15% on your first order. All you need to do is use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN. I'm put the link in the YouTube and Rumble description, but to repeat, that is bui.ver.so/outspoken. Use the coupon code OUTSPOKEN.
So in your health, in your money, in your travel, in your freedom, in your speech, you are being more and more and more and more and more and more controlled. And the only thing left are your thoughts. That's the only freedom you're ever going to have left.
But they're now policing them as well, or at least the thoughts that we express. And I think, based on everything that you just said, Rob, which I totally agree with, I do think that is the agenda. I find it terrifying, I find it chilling, but I do think that's the agenda. But that is why Donald Trump was right after his assassination attempt to immediately stand up and say, fight, 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 because we're gonna have to fight, aren't we, Rob? And unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of folk probably along the way who go to jail for expressing views. But if we don't fight, if we just sit back and we accept that we're now in an authoritarian world, an Orwellian world, where we cannot express political debate on social media because of the risk of being locked up, then all of the policy prescriptions that you just outlined, including a social credit system, will be coming.
I don't have words, Dan, but I have been scared of this since lockdown and feeling like this was coming. Mm-hmm. To me, there is only one of the reasons, I love your work and, we got on so well. I love the title Outspoken, and you have the courage to talk about the things that, you think are important. You risk getting yourself cancelled. The only thing we can do, we can all not pay our taxes, because I'm not saying we should or shouldn't, but just imagine if we all didn't pay our taxes. Just imagine if we all didn't put money in BlackRock or Vanguard. Just imagine if we all didn't buy coffee at Starbucks. Just imagine if we all, the most powerful thing we can do is stop giving money to those who are trying
if we
to
all
silence
stopped paying the TV license fee, that would be a really simple thing, wouldn't it? There's no way they can police it all, because actually the mainstream media is one of the most dishonest forces in all of that. And if we can do our bit to at least shut down the terrible government-run mainstream media in the UK, that will be a start. But it's difficult. It is difficult to know what to do. But I think we do have to fight. And certainly from my perspective, and Rob, we speak about it in detail in the episode of Disruptors that I appeared on, which was really one of my first time talking about this. But because I have been cancelled, because they did everything possible to shut me down, Rob, and you know what they did, and it was so dishonest, actually, I feel really free now. Because what more do I have to lose? When they've taken everything away from someone, actually, you realise that it's more important to speak up because they've done their worst. And actually, that leads on very nicely to two of your most popular and controversial and regular guests who appear frequently on Disruptors. The first being Tate Hopkins, who now is very open about the fact that she feels like she is a non-citizen, she doesn't own anything, she doesn't have a bank account. You've developed a close relationship with her over the years, and this is part of what she had to say to you.
Migrants crossing the Med, likened them to cockroaches. I said that, and I stand by it. They're going to come for your home with lawfare. They're going to come for your head, a couple of jihadis. They're going to come for you. They're going to come for you. Because I don't think I've got anything to hide. Just unapologetically me.
Now, you've got to know her really well. Rob, what's the real Tate Hopkins like?
Well, like Andrew, a lot of the things she says are with a comedic tone.
Yes.
And they get taken very literally. I mean, Katie now does stand up.
She's hilarious.
Yeah, she's very, she's got a great following, and you know, surely comedy was always the place where you could be a bit political and that would be okay. Surely there has to be somewhere where we can be a bit political and not get judged and it be okay. And comedy seemed to be the safe space. And of course, now it's not at all, unless you're huge like Ricky Gervais, for example. So a lot of it is humor. I mean, I think she did say some quite extreme things. And she has lost everything and paid the price. But I believe that she speaks with integrity to what she believes, and she's made a great personal sacrifice to do that. And I admire someone with that integrity to speak what you believe to be true, even if you're going to lose your home, which she lost, even if, you know, you're going to put your children in danger, which she did. And in a way, Dan, Katie was a little bit early in the sense that she probably would have maybe lost less, or probably would have taken less personal sacrifice if she was, you know, a few years later. Although you could say Andrew Tate, that, you know, they went for everything with him.
They did. And Andrew Tate, again, he's someone I've interviewed. I got a lot of criticism for having him on my former GB News show. You have interviewed him many times. You've traveled to speak with him. Firstly, why did you decide to have Andrew Tate on your show? What is it about him that interests you?
Well, I just want to say one thing, Dan, because we need to make this clear. Anyone who, you know, has a platform who strongly disagrees with Andrew Tate or Katie Hopkins, I'd happily have on my show.
Yeah.
The thing is that they just distance themselves from you. I would give them the platform. So people say to me, "Oh, I'm platforming Andrew Tate, Katie Hopkins," as if they need me anyway. They can platform themselves. I mean, that's a bit ironic. I'm not platforming them. I'm having open debate, and I do challenge them. If you watch my shows, Dan, I don't give them an easy ride. I challenge them.
Yeah,
but I would quite happily do someone who's got something, you know, important to say, you know, on, let's say, the far left, but they don't want to go near it because they kind of, I don't think they want to be exposed.
So you'd interview Owen Jones, you'd interview Jeremy Corbyn, for example?
Yeah, absolutely, I would. Yeah, I'd love, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.